Okay, first disclaimer out of the way. If you came here for a well-researched and meticulously edited rant done professionally in some YouTuber recording studio, go somewhere else. There's plenty of other videos out there that do just that. But if you came here for a good persuasive defense of Mabel and Ford over some quality drawings, you've come to the right place. So, Mabel, you love her, but a lot of you seem to hate her. I wonder why. Genuinely, I do not understand what is wrong with her. She does so many things in this series that are not only virtuous, but in comparison to Dipper, infinitely better. I want to compare 2 episodes in the show that shows the flaws in each character, the Time Traveler's Pig and Summerween. In the former, Mabel quote-unquote guilt trips Dipper into going back in time and letting her get her pig. This could not be further from the truth. Dipper, the whole time, was doing things for his selfish desires, need I remind you, to have a date with Wendy. But if you still don't believe me, let's see things from Mabel's perspective. She, wanting to help Dipper, goes out of her way to make sure he secures his date. Very virtuous for a so-called terrible person. Then, after she helps, how is she rewarded? By seeing her pig get stolen away by Pacifica, supposedly to be eaten. Imagine how that would make you feel. Not good, I imagine. So, of course, Dipper would try and help her eventually. The next episode I want to talk about that is never mentioned by Mabel haters is Summerween. In this episode, Dipper behaves like an absolute jerk to Mabel. When I was a kid, I hated this episode for this very aspect, but I'm getting ahead of myself. The basic plot is that Dipper wants to go trick-or-treating with Mabel, but after seeing Wendy is going to a cool Halloween party, he uses every excuse not to go so he can ditch for his crush. If this were Mabel, do you think the Mabel haters would care? Of course they would! They would say, that makes Mabel a horrible, irredeemable person. But since it's Dipper, nobody cares. It's because he's 12, that's understandable. Oh yeah? Well, why don't you say the same thing for Mabel when she makes the same mistakes? Exactly. I rest my case. Also, another thing to my point, her sacrifice in sock opera was not made quote-unquote null and void because Gabe was a puppet kisser. Gabe was already a puppet kisser. Mabel just didn't know it yet. And also, it's a joke. Get off your high horses. Now to move on to my favorite character from this entire show, Stanford Philbrick motherfucking Pines. Excuse my language, but it's justified because he does not deserve this hate. So, the first argument against this man that I love, totally no bias there, is that he was the one who summoned Bill in the first place. But are you forgetting the reason he summoned him? It's because Bill was a master manipulator. Bill literally used the lack of praise Ford's father gave him as a child against him. Bill flattered him so that he could trust him enough to build the portal. That was the only reason. Bill knew what he was doing. Ford did not. That's what makes Bill the villain. The next argument against my baby girl, Ford, is that he ruined McGucket's life. This is not only wrong, but removes Fiddleford's agency entirely. It was Fiddleford who invented the memory gun. He was the one who decided to use it on himself. And Ford, in Journal 3, even mentions not liking the idea of it. And about Ford bringing him to Gravity Falls in the first place, he asked him politely, and he went there willingly. So, if anything, it was Fiddleford who ruined his own life. And the third and final argument against this man is that he's insensitive to his brother Stanley. This mostly refers to when he punches him after he brought him through the portal. Now, this may seem on the surface like a good argument, but let me bring out my Journal 3 here. You want to know what he was doing before Stanley brought him back? Quote, I had Bill Cipher in my crosshairs. End quote. He was about to kill Bill when Stanley activated the portal. Of course he'd be upset. Also, there's a very real possibility that the portal could bring Bill with him too. Sure, he shouldn't have done that, obviously. But being a real person with real emotions can sway you like that. This is a flawed person, not a bad person. In conclusion, the characters in Gravity Falls are not perfect. They have flaws and quirks like all of us. Sometimes we can be short-sighted. Sometimes we can trust the wrong people. And maybe, just maybe, we can get caught up in trying to look cool. Mabel, Ford, and Dipper are just like us. They make mistakes. But that doesn't mean any of them are villains. Thank you so much for watching. I just gotta say